Good evening, everyone. I am Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS English channel, and this is Indian Express Analysis. And today is 3rd of May and we are going to discuss important news and articles that have appeared in the newspaper. Give me a minute, I'll mute this one. Yeah. Now, we'll start off by understanding the socio-economic caste census that happened in 2011, because the most recent caste-based data that the government of India has, it got from the socio-economic caste census 2011. And now, as the government is trying to get the caste-related data in the next census, therefore, what happened in the socio-economic caste census of 2011, automatically it becomes important from our exams perspective. Now, if you look at this particular article, it is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective because it deals with matters of caste, which is a part of GS paper 1 syllabus, and GS paper 2 because it deals with the process of enumeration of people, which is a governmental exercise. So roughly it belongs to the part and parcel of social justice and polity both, right? So therefore relevant paper is GS 1 and 2. In the second article, we'll be understanding Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 because recently Supreme Court gave a judgment regarding the insolvency proceedings of a steel company which was under the IBC code. Now, because of this judgment, we expect certain changes which will be made in the IBC code and also change in the atmosphere regarding the perception of IBC code as an effective measure to resolve the stressed assets of the bank, right? Now, this kind of a topic is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective. Why? Because it is a part of mobilization of resources, part of Indian economy. In the third article, we'll be understanding about a right to digital access. Now, Supreme Court in its recent judgment has highlighted that you seeking any digital tool or digital benefit actually is a fundamental right covered under the Article 21. So, what are the measures Supreme Court has implemented in order to make it a fundamental right and ease the access into digital medium of people? We'll understand in our today's discussion. This relates to a part of the Indian Constitution, which is a part of GS paper 2 perspective, right? And also it is relates to the governance part of the syllabus also from GS2. Now, in the fourth article, we'll be understanding about opinion trading platforms. So, I don't know how many of you watch IPL. You might be witnessing the ads of companies like MPL, Dream11, My Circle, right? So, these are the examples of opinion trading platform. How do these opinion trading platforms work? Why are people so attracted to it? All of this we are going to cover in our today's discussion. In addition to the legality of these platforms. Are these platforms legal or are they illegal? We'll find out in our today's discussion, okay? Now, I see few of you have participated in the session. Yashi, Augustine, Reshma, Sarang. Where are others? Please let me know your presence so that I know you are watching it. Right, now opinion trading platforms, these are basically related to polity syllabus because the governance or regulation of these platforms are a part of GS paper 2 syllabus. In the fifth article, we'll be understanding about Lakundi temples, bunch of temples that are located in Lakundi, which is in state of Karnataka. Why these temples are in news? We'll discuss it in addition to the important architectural features of these temple and what makes these groups of temple unique in Indian perspective. Now, these kind of temples automatically are a part of art and culture syllabus. Therefore, the relevant paper is GS paper 1. And in the sixth article, which we are going to cover if time permits, we will be understanding about the green hydrogen certification scheme. Green hydrogen, which you already know, is the hydrogen which is manufactured from a renewable energy process, and how to certify whether or not that hydrogen is indeed green hydrogen. This scheme deals with that particular part. So, we'll understand how this green hydrogen certification scheme works, and also we'll try to understand green hydrogen mission which has been brought by the government in order to promote development and manufacturing of green hydrogen, which also will benefit our country's energy security. So, the relevant paper here again is GS paper 3, either way you look at it, from economy or from environmental perspective. Now, the notes for these sessions as usual will be available on my Telegram channel ATS Live. So, you can go to the Telegram channel, subscribe to it, and I make notes available on these very Telegram channel. Hi Amar, hi Rockstar, hi Mohammed, Avais, hi English with Dips, hi Gokulraj, good evening everyone. Now, we'll start off with this first article which appeared on page 15. Sorry, it is page 5, not page 15. Pardon my mistake here. This appeared in the page 5 of the Indian Express newspaper, and you can see this is an article which cites National Commission for Backward Classes chairperson Hansraj Ahir. He's saying that SECC 2011 had gaps and forthcoming census will be much more streamlined in nature. So this brought my attention to the SECC 2011. What is SECC 2011? What kind of questions or what kind of details were covered in SECC 2011 will cover in our today's discussion. First, let us understand the context of our today's article. The government, now it has decided to collect caste data also as a part of its decadal exercise known as Census 2021, which has been long delayed due to pandemic. Now it is going to happen, and in this census also the caste data of the population will also be enumerated. Now, as Centre has announced this new caste census, National Commission for Backward Classes, which is what kind of a body? Constitutional body, right? In which constitutional amendment was it given the status of constitutional body? Let me know in the comment section so that I'll know. Now, he is the chairperson of this NCBC, Hansraj Ahir, has raised questions over how the 2011 socioeconomic caste census was conducted. So this brings our attention to the exercise of 2011 socioeconomic caste census. We're going to cover this in detail today. Right, now related facts that you need to know, I've already covered this, but I'm making you revise this again. Now, the most recent publicly available data on caste population in terms of national census that the government of India has, it came from 1931 census. That was at the time when British were ruling us. Now, a census also happened during the time of World War II. That was census of 1941, which collected data on individual castes, but this was not released by then colonial government. And census which happened in independent India, it was consciously decided not to collect and coagulate the data relating to caste because of as it was feared it will perpetuate and exacerbate the divide between different castes which already existed in India, right? Now, the most recent population level census data that India has, it started or it got, the government got that data from SECC 2011, which was conducted between 2011 and 13 as a follow-up exercise of the 2011 census. Now, SECC collected data on the range of parameters, parts of which were published in 2016, but the data on caste population other than those belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe category, this was not made public. So this was the although government had the data, however, this data was not available to the public. That's why the government was stressed. Now, SECC 2011, it was a study of socio-economic status of both rural and urban households, and it allowed the ranking of households based on their predefined parameters. So that is why most of the schemes that are implementing now, that is Ayushman Bharat Yojana, even the Yojanas like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, both Gramin and urban, all of these, the beneficiary base is assumed from this particular caste census only. Now, this caste census, although was executed or implemented by other related ministries like Ministry of Rural Development for rural area and Ministry of Urban Development for urban areas, but the administration control or administrative control of this exercise was vested with Ministry of Home Affairs, especially through the body known as Registrar General of India and Census Commissioner of India. So these authority actually had the administrative control, but when it came to enumeration of the data, it was done by other ministries. That is, Union Ministry of Rural Development began SECC in door-to-door in rural areas. Similarly, Ministry of Urban Development, which is known now as Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, this actually did the or conducted the survey on the urban areas. Now, this exercise was mainly carried out in 2011 and 12, but in few states this enumeration and verification it went until 2013. Like many schemes that happen in India, the timeline always gets increased. Now, the data which was gotten by the government as a part of SECC and census, it was to be used for policy research and implementation of various development programs, right? And this data, it collated the data from 24 lakh enumeration block, and each block contained approximately 125 households. So you can multiply these many households were covered in the caste census. Understand? 24 lakh into 125. Now census 2011, which was carried out before SECC happened between February 9 and 28, but you have to remember the personal data which the government got out of census, it was never made publicly available. Only the total number of population data was made applicable, but individual data like my name, like my address, like my occupation status, these were not to be revealed. But all personal information in the SECC, it is open for government departments and agencies to be used in order to provide benefits or restrict benefits to households in many schemes. So I have already told you Ayushman Bharat beneficiary base is assumed from which census? SECC 2011. Similarly, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, both urban and rural, the beneficiaries, that are people who are eligible to get households, these are identified from SECC data, right? So that is why government now needs a different caste census. Well, understanding caste census will actually tell the government X people belong to A caste, Y people belong to B caste, Z people belong to C class. So similarly, it can identify the different caste. It can identify people belonging to which caste is more vulnerable, people belonging to which caste is more poor, and similarly, government can decide to extend certain benefits like reservation, like some economic support, like it can identify people belonging to, say, mostly agricultural based caste, these are more poor in nature, so we can provide more subsidies to these people. We can increase the money that government gives under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Yojana, right? So this is why these kind of data enumeration is very important as far as policy making and policy implementation is concerned, right? So that is why these caste census, it will be included in 2021 census. So whenever a person comes to ask you details about 2021 census, he will also ask you your caste details. How they will ask, I will tell you, not need to worry. Okay. So let us see what kind of questions were asked before in 2011, especially in census, and afterwards in SECC 2011. So you'll understand the differences. What happened before and now what will happen right now is different. Okay. So earlier, two censuses were conducted parallelly. First, a person came, it took out your different data which is relevant from census perspective. Then another person came and he took out your caste related data, right? So many questions, they were indeed common in both these surveys, right? So the census are actually the person who comes to conduct census. That exercise is called as household schedule, right? So a person visits your household. So when whoever comes out, he or she asks the question to the person, right? So this collects data on broad demographic characteristics and economic activities, and these were common in SECC 2021. So what kind of data were common? Questions were asked on your gender, marital status, your religion, whether you are literate or not, date of birth, relationship with the head of family. So these kind of data are common to both SECC 2011 as well as to the census 2011, right? However, SECC 2011 sought some additional specific details when it came to economic conditions. What are these additional specific details? I will let you know. Need not worry. Okay. Now, what kind of questions were asked? First is relating to disability and illness. Now, questionnaire for the census, that is household schedule, it only asked whether the person in your household or how many people in your household are disabled. So, it only asked whether you are disabled or you are not disabled. But when the person belonging to SECC came, he sought more details about your disability. He sought whether you are visually disabled, whether you have speech or hearing impairment, whether you are having difficulties in your movement, you are facing some mental illness or any mental retardation, multiple disability. So it took out more details when it came to disability. So you understand, people who are disabled, who can't move, naturally they won't be able to make money as a normal person would. So naturally they will be more socio and economic backward, right? And this also sought additional information about diseases, whether or not person is facing certain life threatening diseases like cancer, TB or leprosy. So these kind of additional data was sought in SECC, which was not sought in census. Census only asked you whether you are disabled or not. Understood? Now let's see what kind of questions were asked. Now, specific caste group, the questions relating to caste were also asked in census, but what kind of details were asked? Let me tell you. Now, when the census person came, it asked you whether or not you belong to either of scheduled caste or scheduled tribes, but it did not ask you the name of subsequent caste along which you belong under SC or ST category, right? So it did not ask you a specific detail. It asked you whether you belong to SC scheduled caste or not, or whether you belong to scheduled tribe or not. And it did not even ask you whether or you were OBCs or a person belonging to general category. But when the SCCC person came, he sought disaggregated detail about your caste. He asked you whether you belong to SC, ST or other caste, and he also sought out the name of your caste, right? Which is quite different from the census related data. Understand? So this is how some census was a very cursory view of things. SCCC was more detailed when it came to your social related data or your economic related data. Similarly, if you say economic status was much more asked in the census also, specifically in SCCC, because SCCC it's asked information relating to your housing and dwelling, such as who is the owner of your housing, what is the predominant material which was used to construct your houses, whether it is a mud based house or is it a concrete based house. Similarly, it collected information on the household amenities, whether or not drinking water is available, whether or not toilets are there, whether you have a ability to send wastewater properly, or whether kind of you have refrigerator, TV, mobile, etc. in your households or not. So these kind of detailed information was sought in SCCC, which actually told you whether or not that person is poor or rich, because if they went to a rich person's household, they will have all these kind of amenities which might not be available in a poor household. Rich people might be living in a bungalow, poor people might be living in a house which might be made of mud, right? So this is how these kind of data tell you the government that how many amount of poor people are there, how many amount of people who do not have basic necessities like drinking water supply, like a proper functionable household toilets, right? Now in urban areas, whenever SCCC person went, they sought the names of both father and mother and also their main source of income, whether or not they were belonging to these kind of occupations like rag picking, street vending, begging, or they were involved in what kind of a work, and also whether or not if you're retired, whether you're not getting pension or not, right? Similarly, if they went to rural area, they sought if or not any member of your family belonged to primitive tribal group, or whether or not they've served as a manual scavenger or a bonded labor, and they also collected the details relating to main source of household income, right? So these are kind of details that have been asked in SCCC, not in caste census. But now all of these details will be asked in just one survey, which will be census of 2021. Understand? So this is the difference. Earlier we conducted two different census exercise, one after the other. Now we only are conducting one, which will construct all of the data. Okay. Now, let us move to the next article. This is very interesting, let me tell you. Now, it tells us that Supreme Court has given an order which has rejected JSW Steel's plan to actually make the company of Bhushan Steel or enrich the functioning of Bhushan Steel. How it is functioning, let me tell you the context of the article. Now, Supreme Court has made a decision to liquidate the assets of Bhushan Power and Steel, which will likely to have an impact on the company's lenders, because you understand the company, if it were to take expansion in their business or if it has to undertake construction of a new factory, it would automatically need loans. But what if that company goes defunct? What if that company stops working? So naturally the banks that have extended the loans, they have no measure to get their money back. And this is what happened with the IBC code also, right? Especially with the Bhushan Steel and Power. Now, Bhushan Steel and Power were originally one of the major non-performing assets that were in a list posted by RBI. So liquidating and ensuring that this company works again is in the best interest of the financer of the company and also of the employees of this company, right? Now this decision has been stopped. But before understanding this article, let me tell you the very basics of insolvency and bankruptcy code. Suppose this is a company called Bhushan Steel and Power Limited, right? Now automatically this company might have sought loans from banks. But what if this company stops working, or what if the economic condition of this company is not good? So this company will not be able to return the loan back. So naturally, the creditors of these companies, like banks, like employees, or even the owners of the company, they have an option to file for IBC code under the NCLT. that is National Company Law Tribunal, because this is a company. Had it been an individual, they would have followed the same application to the Debt Recovery Tribunal. So this financial creditor, either banks or employees or even the owners of this company, they'll file an application in the NCLT saying that please, we are not able to return the funds to the bank, please initiate the IBC or Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code process. So what this NCLT will do, company always have board of directors which is ensuring the working of the company. So when you file for an application in the NCLT, what NCLT does, that it appoints a resolution professional to manage your company, and while doing so, it cancels the appointment of the board of directors. So now the management of this company will be under the hand of resolution professional. Okay. Now what this resolution professional does, in addition to managing the company, is that he will convene the meeting of committee of creditors. You know what committee of creditors is? This is a committee of all the banks who have extended the loans to Bhushan Steel and Power Limited, right? So this committee of creditors, they meet and they say that, see, this is amount of the loan that we have given to the bank, and the resolution professional, it will actually verify the claims made by committee of creditors. Now after this verification claim has been done, now this resolution professional, what he'll do, he'll ask for bids from various different organizations who want to buy these company, right? So suppose different companies like Tata Steel, JSW, other company like Jindal Steel and Power Limited, they will submit their respective bids saying that, see, we will buy this company for this much amount and we will try to make this company go and do good business again so that it can return the loan to the original creditors. Okay, so this bids will be allowed, and now this individual bids will be voted upon by the committee of creditors, and to pass any bid, it requires the voting percentage of 66% of the total committee of creditors. So if by 66%, suppose committee of creditors has approved the bid process of JSW, which has said that, see, this is my proposal, I will buy this Bhushan Steel and Private Limited, I will invest some money and I will ensure that this company starts working again so that this company will pay the loan back, and in addition to that, I will pay this much amount of money to the original lenders. So after this bid has been approved, so this company goes into what is known as resolution, right? So what does resolution means? That company starts working again. But what if no proposal is able to get 66% of the vote, or what if no proposal by any company has been made to make this company resolute, right? So in that case, another process will happen which is known as liquidation. What happens in liquidation? That is, the assets of the Bhushan Steel and Power Limited, like land, like factories, like computers, like table and chairs, all of this will be sold in the market, and whatever money will be getting out of it, this will be distributed respectively to the all the lenders of the Bhushan Steel and Power. So from our economic perspective, what is more desirable? Resolution of the company, right? Because company has invested some money, it has created a factory. So if we start producing steel out of this factory, it will create employment, it will create profit for the company, which can be returned back to the original lenders. But what if company goes into liquidation, which is less desirable? Naturally, the amount of recovery will be less, right? So this is how IBC process works. And for completion of this entire process, the IBC law says you have to complete this process in 180 days, which can be extended by maximum of 270 days in total. Understand? So ultimately it has to be completed in 270 days. Now let us see the background of this issue. Now Bhushan Steel, it owes about 47,000 crore of money to its lenders, that is banks, and JSW Steel had actually proposed in its bid that it will pay 19,700 crore to the financial creditor, which means that financial creditor would have seen a loss of 58%, which also means in this term as a haircut, right? So this means the proposal of JSW which was extended, JSW said that as against the loan of 47,000 crore rupees, as I am showing you some mercy, I will pay you 19,700 crore, which means loss of 58% of the total funding by the banks. But banks accepted this, otherwise they would not have gotten even this amount of money. However, now the Supreme Court has announced that instead of resolution, this company will go into liquidation. So banks are unlikely to recover even this much amount of money, potentially leading to further losses. So when a company is liquidated, its assets are sold to settle debts, often at distressed prices. So whenever you are going to sell any product in the market which is second hand, naturally will you get the entire money out of it? No, right? Because the buyers will offer you less amount of money. So leaving less money for the banks in this regard, and this could result in significant losses for the lenders like banks who have already taken a huge haircut. So if the liquidation is happening, not even this money will be recovered by the bank. So this is the background of our today's discussion. Now the consequences of this liquidation rather than resolution is unwinding of this transaction is affected to a far-reaching impact, particularly to our banking sector, as it casts a shadow on other bankruptcy case, because now the creditors will feel other cases which are in Supreme Court, will it meet the same fate? And also total amount of money that has been stood is 10.46 lakh crore, and financial creditors, they are claiming to get 9.46 lakh crore rupees. And the big worry among bankers is that bidders of companies under IBC now will be more cautious, and their interest in such firms would reduce because of the order given by Supreme Court. Understand? Any doubt in IBC process? Now is the time for you to ask question. Now let's see the performance of IBC. Now IBC, it has clocked highest ever resolution in the fiscal year of 2024, where 269 cases were filed with NCLT, and the resolution plan was approved, and it saw a 42% growth over the last fiscal year. Now this has been driven by two factors: greater investor interest in turnaround of stressed assets or companies, and appointment of new NCLT members, which has reduced the pendency in the NCLT. Understand? But this process is still with many problems. As we have seen, there is a moderation in recovery rates and stretched pipeline. That resolution plan have only seen recovery rates of 27%. So out of 100 rupees that might be pending in form of loans, only 27 rupees has been returned back to the original creditors. And also resolution timeline, what did I say you? It can be extended up to maximum of 270 days. But now if you see, the resolution time have stretched on an average up to 850 days, earlier which was 825 days, right? So see how much gap is there in theory and in practice. Understand? Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. This is a very similar question to the one that appeared in 2017. 27, a question appeared on S4A, which was a scheme of RBI. Quickly answer it. Well, yes, you have answered it correctly. Option C is the right answer. So, Reshma, Amar, Dhananjoy, Sarang, Yashi, all of you are correct. Now moving to the next article, this I have taken from the Indian Express website, and it says right to digital access is a part of right to life and liberty, and Supreme Court has directed changes in KYC process, especially for disabled person. So let's see what is the context of the article. Now a recent judgment was passed by our apex court highlighting that right to digital access is a part of right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution, right? So when it is your fundamental right, naturally you have a right to seek digital access, which means digital accessibility is your right. And why it has been made a right? Because access to digital services is essential for accessing welfare schemes of the government, is essential for accessing financial services and also to access benefits of healthcare and education. Therefore, accessibility of digital services is not an optional thing, rather it is a mandatory and a constitutional obligation. And this digital transformation should be inclusive and equitable. That means people belonging to different caste, different category, disabled, non-disabled persons, poor and rich person, they should have equal right to such services of digital services, right? Now, what happens that suppose if you go to a bank and that bank asks you to submit Aadhaar card and verify your thumbprint in order to open a bank account. But what if you do not have your hand? So how will you verify your thumbprint, right? So these are kind of problems faced by people with disability. So Supreme Court has mandated for revision of KYC rule. You understand what is KYC? Please let me know the full form of KYC. RBI and other financial regulators must provide alternatives to facial recognition and blinking and allow even OTP based or video based verification method. So suppose if a person does not have an eye or is facing certain kind of visibility defect, so that person won't be able to provide facial recognition or won't be able to blink. So how will you provide verification of that person? So in that case, yes, know your customer. So in that case, you also have to send OTP and conduct video based verification, and also to enable persons with facial disfigurement due to acid attack or any accident, or persons who are visually impaired, they need to access banking and governance services. So that is why these alternative options needs to be provided. Okay. Also, it also wants the companies who are developing apps and websites, they need to involve persons with disability in the testing stage also, because they need to conduct a pre-launch testing with blind users so as to know whether or not blind users are able to access their apps and website, and also certify apps as accessible before the rollout of public. And similarly, mandatory accessibility standards have been laid out for websites, mobile apps and citizens platform. They need to follow the regulations and standards set by BIS and also comply with section 46 of the Right to People with Disability Act 2016. What is section 46? I'll tell you. Now, it also wants the authorities to appoint nodal accessibility officers for all regulated entities, be it government financial institutions, private financial institution, which will have a dedicated nodal officers responsible for ensuring digital accessibility. And also, if a customer is facing problem relating to access of services, particularly in digital medium, they should have a grievance redressal mechanism to address certain concerns. Good evening, Rishi. Yes, Reshma, know your customer. Now let's see what are the legal articles that are involved in this particular discussion. First, obviously, is Article 21, which provides right to life and liberty. Now it also includes digital accessibility. What are the other rights that are included in Article 21? If you know, let me know. I'll tell you one of them: right to privacy, right to move inside the country is part of Article 19. Right to move outside the country is a part of Article 21. Where was it announced? In the Menaka Gandhi judgment. Okay. Now, it also deals with Article 14 and 15, which provides right to equality and non-discrimination. So, suppose if you are discriminating between a person who is disabled and not disabled, this also violates your Article 14 and 15, right? Similarly, Article 38, which is a part of Directive Principle of State Policy, if you read that article, it provides directive for promoting welfare of people, including digital inclusion. And similarly, Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, especially in section 46, it mandates accessibility in both electronic and print media. So you'll see these electronic media, they need to be good so that people having visual impairment, having physical disability should also access it. Now please let me know. No problem for being late. Yes, right to get hospital treatment, correct. Right to seek quality healthcare, that's the term. Now there was this question on right to privacy in 2018, right, which was given as a part of Article 21 under the Supreme Court judgment of Justice Puttaswamy case. So similarly, I have curated a question also on this theme. Please let me know the correct answer. Right to digital access is protected as an intrinsic part of right to life and personal liberty, which is a part of Reshma says option C. Others? Yes, option C is the correct answer. Now, what all is included in Article 21? How was it included in Article 21 with respect to different judgments of the Supreme Court? We cover that in detail in our P2I foundation batches. Right now, the admissions have begun for May evening batch, which is starting on 7th of May. If you have to take admissions in these batch, you can take admissions. You will be provided an option to enroll for either of these three courses. Diamond course is the one that has all the benefits that is available on our StudyIQ website, whereas in Gold and Platinum, you get some of the benefits. To take admissions on these courses, what you need to do, go to our website, create an account here first, then you need to click on Explore Courses. When you click on Explore Courses, select this tile that says UPSC IS English. Here you have to select first tile. Now you can see when you select this first tile, it says 40,999 is the course fees for diamond batches. But let me tell you a way where you can get this admissions to this diamond batches at a discounted rate. How to apply those discount? You must be seeing a ticker which is flashing on the bottom half of your screen, right? Saying that use the code ATS live. You have to do exactly that. How to apply the code? Let me tell you. Here you can see there's an option to add promo code. Click here. You need to enter coupon code here, write ATS live, and click on apply. When you click on apply, you will see that the ATS code is now applicable and it is giving you 7,000 rupees discount. Let me apply it again. Now ATS live code is applicable, 7,000 rupees is the discount. Fees of diamond course is now 33,999. Platinum is 29,999. Similarly, gold is 19,999. The benefit maximum is available for 7,000 rupees in the diamond courses, which you'll get for 33,999 only after you apply the code ATS live. Okay, so please make sure to do that. Now moving again to our discussion, let us solve this particular article which appeared in yesterday's newspaper on page 15, and you say it talks about opinion trading platform and why has SEBI warned investors against dealing with those platforms. Now opinion trading, you must also understand, you might be seeing ads, My Circle, My 11 Circle, MPL, which was once the sponsor of Indian cricket team, also Dream 11, who is now the sponsor of Indian cricket team. All of these are what? These are basically fantasy platforms. On a broader perspective, these are also called as opinion trading platform. Now the markets regulator in India, that is Securities Exchange Board of India, SEBI, it has cautioned investors against dealing with these opinion trading platforms, which are new segments in the country online money market, which allows user to win money by placing financial bets on the likelihood of a real life event. How this works, I'll let you know. Okay. Now more about the news. Why this opinion trading platforms are in news? Because India currently does not have a law which can directly deal with these opinion trading platforms, or it can regulate it. Okay. Now on one hand we can't regulate it, but the size of this industry is so high that it has raised more than 4,200 crores in funding from the last 35 investors in 2024 itself. Now these platforms, they have registered transaction volume stretching over 50,000 crores per year, user base of more than 5 crore people, and collective revenues of these firms are over and above 1,000 crore rupees in the last financial year. So this is the size of market, and you see there is no law of the government to regulate it, right? So there is a regulatory void in this regard. Now, what are opinion trading platforms? Opinion trading platforms are basically apps or websites that lays down its user or participants to enter into an arrangement where the payout or the profit that you make is dependent on the outcome of yes or no proposition that might be happening in real life. Now, in some cases, these opinion trading platforms, these are designed in a manner which resembles an investment platform. Investment platforms are the one where you invest your money legally in form of buying shares or mutual funds. Now, if you open those investment platforms, you will see the terminologies like profits, like stop loss, trading, etc. used, and these platforms are now, that is opinion trading platforms, have now started to use these platforms to mirror these investment platforms. Now, let's see how this platform works. Now, these platforms, it allows participants to earn money by investing in predictions. It might be in sports, politics, weather, crypto events, etc. So participants who are betting on these applications, they will be asked a question. For example, will political party X win the election by margin of these many votes? Or if you are placing your bets in IPL, you'll be seeing a question like, will Virat Kohli hit a 50 today? And you have to say yes or no. And suppose if Virat Kohli hits 50 today, you have betted on yes, you'll increase or you'll earn more money. And if you have betted no, you'll lose out your money, right? So if predictions are correct, the participants make profit, and in case it goes wrong, they lose out their money. So this is why it is quite difficult and quite risky for you to invest in these platforms, because the outcome of these platforms, you don't know. Will Virat Kohli score a 50 today? Can you do anything about it? No, only Virat Kohli can ensure that, and sometimes even Virat Kohli doesn't know whether or not he'll be able to hit 50, right? So how will you be able to make a judged opinion about whether or not he will be able to hit 50 today? You can consider his form, but is form the absolute term to ensure that he will hit good amount of runs in the match? No, right? So this is why this is a risky proposition. Understand? Now in general, these opinion trading platforms, it does not even fall within the regulatory purview of SEBI, because there is no trading in securities that is happening. What are securities? It might be shares, it might be government securities, and when no trading of such securities is involved, so SEBI can't regulate them. Now SEBI has warned investors and participants in these platforms that no investor protection mechanism which are otherwise extended to investors in stock markets, these are not applicable. So please do not get it mistaken that your money or your investment will be protected, and save your hard-earned money and not invest in these platforms. But the bigger question is whether or not these platforms are legal. This is a big question that is in front of the government, or this is in front of the legal system of our country. Now, Supreme Court and major high courts have given some statements about it. They are categorizing any kind of betting apps in form of two kinds of betting apps, whether or not that betting apps involve some kind of skills or chance. Now, fundamental legal range through which the online games are seeing that the games of skill are permitted and games of chance are not permitted. That is, games of chance, no person can have a competitive advantage over another, and results, it purely depends on luck. So for example, toss, right? Toss is a game of chance because you don't know whether heads or tails would come up, right? Similarly, in games of skill, there is some amount of preparation that is required. So suppose High Court says that, suppose if you are betting on a sports platform, you can assume that Yashasvi Jaiswal or Abhishek Sharma or Nicholas Puran would hit a 6 because they are known for hitting a 6. But what if you think a test player like Chiteshwar Pujara, will he be able to hit 6? Automatically the chances of that to happen as against the other players would be less, right? So according to High Court, in Karnataka or in Mumbai, they say that these opinion trading platforms are basically games of skill, because in order to bet on the outcomes of sports, you need to know about something about sports. Similarly, if you are betting an outcome on politics, you need to know few details about politics, right? So that is why they've categorized these platforms as game of skill, not as game of luck. Therefore, they have been permitted by few high courts of the country. But when it comes to legal lens, is there any regulation or is there any law to regulate the sector? The answer is no. Okay. Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. Answer quickly. Well, game of skill predominantly depends on players' knowledge, training and proficiency, yes, and whereas game of luck is primarily determined by chance or randomness, correct. The legal recognition of whether activity is game of skill or luck has no impact on the regulation under gambling laws in India. This is incorrect, because game of luck is not permitted, game of skill is permitted, right? So option A is the right answer, because first is correct, second is incorrect. Now moving to the next article, this talks about Lakundi temples. They are to be finalized as the UNESCO tentative listing site under the World Heritage. So in this regard, let us understand few details about the Lakundi temples. Now these Lakundi temples are located in Gadag district of Karnataka. These temples were built during the period of Western Chalukyas who were ruling over the present Carnatic region, right? Now there are around 50 ancient temples which are scattered throughout the village, and also there are 101 step wells which are called as Kalyani. One of the most famous temples in the Lakundi temples is Kasi Vishwanatha temple, not the Banaras one. This is a different one, which is one of the most ornate and the elaborately furnished temple. The image of Kasi Vishwanath temple here I have attached, okay. Now few other details about Lakundi temple. It is also an important Jain center because it houses a significant Jain temple dedicated to Lord Mahavir, and this is one of the largest and oldest Jain shrines in the Lakundi. Now Lakundi is also referred to as Loki Gundi in the ancient inscriptions, and it is considered as one of the important signs to understand the Vesara style of architecture. What is Vesara style of architecture? It is basically an amalgamation or combination of both Nagara style of architecture, which was present in northern part of the country, as well as Dravidian style of architecture, which was present and prevalent in the southern part of our country. So this Vesara style of architecture, it combines both of these elements, okay. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. Well, Lakundi is known for its step wall, locally known as Kalyani, as over 100 of them correct. The temples of Lakundi are primarily associated with Hoysala architecture style. You know what is the most important characteristic of Hoysala architecture style? Can anyone let me know in the comments? Let us deal with third statement. Until then, Lakundi is a significant Jain center and houses one of the largest and oldest Jain temples dedicated to Mahavira, correct. Now, what is the primary quality and characteristic of Hoysala architectural style, or whether or not this statement is correct or not? Quickly. Jaldi batao bhai. Well, Hoysala architecture style, it comprised of a starred platform architecture, right? So central shrine was posted here in the between, and another subsequent gods, they were placed in the edges of the star platform, right? So this Hoysala is not present here in Lakundi. Here it considers a Vesara style, right? Hoysala style is also one of the Vesara style, but the absolute characteristic of what makes Hoysala architecture is the stellate pattern, right, which is in a form of star, okay. So therefore, second statement not correct. So option C is the right answer. Now, since we have time, let us move to last article. This talks about certification scheme for green hydrogen, okay, and this appeared in yesterday's newspaper. Now, let's see the context of our today's discussion. Recently, the Union Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has launched what is known as Green Hydrogen Certification Scheme of India. So, in this regard, let us understand the Green Hydrogen Certification Scheme. Now, the scheme is aimed at establishing a framework to certify green hydrogen production and to ensure transparency, traceability and credibility. So, it is launched to certify whether the hydrogen that you are getting is truly green or not, similar to that of organic food, right? So, organic food, how do we know that the particular food is organic food? Because some agency must be certifying it, right? Similarly, you also need to certify hydrogen of whether or not it is a green hydrogen or whether or not it has been produced from renewable sources and has low emission. So that certification scheme is called as Green Hydrogen Certification Scheme. Now, it is done to prevent greenwashing. You know, greenwashing is the term which means false claim of green production. So, if you're manufacturing any product naturally or normally, but you're claiming it to be a renewable energy product, that is called as greenwashing. And it is also to build global trust in India's green hydrogen export. So, this certification scheme has been brought by the government. Now, the nodal energy for implementation of the certification scheme is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Two types of certificate will be issued. First is voluntary, known as concept certificate, and mandatory, that is facility level certificate. Now, the calculations of how much emission you are doing while producing the hydrogen, that will be following the rule set by Ministry of New and Renewable Energy green hydrogen emission calculation methodology, right? And certificate, you can't transfer it nor trade it, and it cannot be claimed for any emission reduction certificate. Rather, you are just certifying that the hydrogen I'm selling to you is indeed a green hydrogen. Now, what is the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy green hydrogen emission calculation? Let us find that one out. According to the Ministry of New Energy and green hydrogen, they must emit less than 2 kilograms of CO2 per kilograms of hydrogen produced. So, if it is emitting 3 kilograms of CO2 produced, that won't be called as a green hydrogen. And this green hydrogen should be generated using electrolysis powered by renewable energy like solar, wind, hydro, and with biomass based methods which are not based on fossil fuels. So, these criteria you need to fulfill to be called as a green hydrogen. That first, amount of CO2 that you are emitting per emission of green hydrogen should be less than 2 kilograms, and you should be manufacturing that green hydrogen using electrolysis or biomass method using non-fossil fuel based powers and renewable energy power. Okay, any doubt? Now you have understood what is green hydrogen. Like, green hydrogen is the one that is produced through electrolysis using renewable energy. But what if you are producing hydrogen using electrolysis process but not from renewable, rather nuclear energy? That hydrogen will be called as pink hydrogen. Similarly, hydrogen produced by thermal splitting of methane instead of CO2, solid carbon is produced, that is known as turquoise hydrogen. Similarly, hydrogen extracted from natural gas using steam method reforming called as black hydrogen. Whereas grey or brown hydrogen using CO2 sequestered or repurposed called as blue hydrogen, whereas hydrogen extracted from fossil fuels is called as brown hydrogen. So, please remember these terms, they might be asked in question in one way or the other. Okay. Now, Soma, it's called crystal clear, CRYSTAL. Now, green hydrogen mission. Now, this was approved by Union Cabinet in 2023, and the ministry implementing this program is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. The implementation agency of the scheme is National Institute of Solar Energy, right? Now, what to do, or what this scheme wants to do? It wants to develop India into a green hydrogen production behemoth by manufacturing 5 million metric tons of hydrogen per year by 2030. And this is to reduce our dependency on fossil fuel imports, and also not just reduce our dependency on imports, rather we can also export these green hydrogen to other countries and its derivatives. Similarly, while producing green hydrogen, we can also decarbonize sectors like steel, fertilizers, refining, which are using huge amount of fossil fuels. So, using fossil fuels, instead we can transfer them to green hydrogen and rather decarbonize this sector. Okay, yes, correct now, Soma. Now, let's see major components of green hydrogen mission. First is SITE program. Under this, two distinct financial incentive mechanisms will be provided targeting domestic manufacturing of electrolyzers and production of green hydrogen, whereas second one is SHIP, known as Strategic Hydrogen Innovation Partnership, which is a private public partnership for R&D to facilitate the manufacturing of green hydrogen. And this scheme wants to develop 3 export hubs of green hydrogen in India, located in Kandla in Gujarat, Paradeep in Odisha, and Tuticorin in the state of Tamil Nadu. Okay. Now, let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ of 2022. Yes, all of you are right. Option A is the correct answer. Moving to next article, next question. This is also PYQ of 2023, and let me know the correct answer in the comment section. And this brings our end to our today's session. I'll upload the notes on the channel ATS Live, so please go and download them. Okay. So this is all from my side. I'll see you again on Monday at 4. Have a very good weekend. Enjoy your day tomorrow, and more than enjoyment, please make sure to revise. Okay. So I'll see you